Welcome to the boxing bookie. We're just waiting on what should be academic. We're gonna get that scorecard real soon. We're gonna get the Chris Billam-Smith and Richard Rakapo card up. It's coming in right now. I'll read them off to you. 116, 111. 115, 112 times two, so a little closer. 116, 116, 112. Okay. They got it right. A little closer. Um, I had 9-3, so that's 117, 110. I had 117, 110. Either way, you slice. They ultimately got it right. It seemed a little closer, although I would say honestly, the first 4 rounds, you could toss up the first 4 rounds. So if you had those cards, all right, I guess I can kind of see that if you gave all first 4 rounds to Rikapo, I can see that. It just seems close. Like that. Yeah, guys, let me know when you're in the chat. Join the chat. Give me a comment. Thoughts, comments below. I hit the over on that. I was really confident I was going to go at the over. I really like the over. I got the winner wrong. I thought Riakporhe was definitely going to be the better fighter. I thought he's a better athlete, better long range boxer. I thought Billam-Smith, but Billam-Smith fought a tremendous fight. He got hit a couple of times there, but he was able to avoid it. And a lot of the hooks, his uppercuts, just landed clean. And Riakporhe never really picked it up. Like, I'm disappointed in Riakporhe's performance. Like, Riakporhe's a 34-year-old. He finally got a world title shot. And that's his performance. It just seems a little whack to me. Like, look, you're 34. There's a very good chance you're never going to fight for a world title. And maybe he doesn't win either way. But don't you want to give it hell? Don't you want to give it your all? Don't you want to go for it? Now, the judges had him close, 116, 111, 8-4, and then 2 judges had 7-5. Now, Riakporhe lost a point in that last round. So that really sealed his fate. But I thought, yeah, I'm with Merker here. Jump Hus Merker. I thought it was fairly one-sided. I could see some of the first rounds being toss-up rounds. You toss up some of the first rounds, but I thought the scorecards were way too close. 115, 112? Really? Is that what we have here? 5 rounds? I don't know what rounds they scored the 12th round for 9-9. Yeah, Riakporhe lost. Did you have that on your parlay, Rocket? I like the over on that. I like Riakporhe. I did a video on it. Y'all can fact check me. I like Riakporhe. I like the over and I like Riakporhe. We didn't hit that one. Really strange day. Dan Aziz, I missed the Aziz fight. I still, they're telling me this is on Peacock. I could not find this on Peacock, so I found a stream of this, but I did not and could not find this on Peacock. Was anyone in the United States able to watch this on Peacock? I couldn't find it. I don't know if Chris has gotten better or Richard became worse over time. I think it's Richard just, Chris came to fight. Chris had an excellent game plan. I think he executed the game plan as well as he could. And Riakporhe just seemed like, okay, I'm going to win this fight. And then he just ran out of rounds and he never really got going. He never really seemed to be fighting with any urgency. It seemed to me like he just, in his head, he was just going to turn the tide. He was going to outbox him and outclass his man. And when that didn't happen, he had no plan B, and he tried to pick it up a little bit in spots in the second half, and nothing was working. Billam-Smith, CBS was just on top of it. He was all over it. He fought a brilliant fight. I didn't know CBS could fight that well as he did, and he really showed me something. Now, I don't think either of these guys have much of a chance at all with Jai Apataya. I don't think that's a competitive fight. I'm not trying to throw shade on CBS after a great performance, and it was a great performance. It was. Don't get that twisted. that was a great performance from if you follow me at 3dboxingblog.com, I do my fighter of the week. He is going to have a good bid for that award this week. That was an excellent performance from Chris Billam-Smith, one that I didn't think he was capable of. So I'm not trying to throw any shade at him, but that was I want to go back to this real quick. Marcus says, I don't know if Chris has gotten better. I think Chris has gotten better. Like that's my instinct. Like Richard Riakporhe is kind of, he is what he is. He's a decent boxer. He's a decent athlete. He's got pretty good pop. He doesn't throw a lot. He's not really aggressive. He's not come forward. He's not looking to see. He is what he is, kind of. So, like, I would say my kind of gut there is Chris Billam-Smith is vastly improved. I don't think at 34, Riakporhe is aged out or anything. He hasn't had a ton of fights. He was just 17-1. So he's only had 18 fights, 13 knockouts. He's looked good in his Glowacki, Fabio Turki. Like the step up fights he's had, he's won, and he's looked good in them. So I would say my gut tells me that this has more to do with Chris Billam-Smith than it does with some kind of decline in Richard Riakporhe. It's all good. Yeah, we got a loaded night of boxing, Rocket. So we got a lot of chances to make money back. We got the two cards. We got the DAZN card, the Liam Paro card, and Puerto Rico with Super Matias. And then we got obviously the big one, Tank Davis and Frank Martin. So there's a lot of opportunities to make some good money. We'll get it all back. And let me know what you guys like. We'll take a look at that. But I wanted to talk. Did anyone get to watch the Dan Aziz fight? Because I was shocked and surprised with how that went. I really, really was. I thought Dan Aziz, look, he's not the greatest fighter in the world, obviously. I had that not on my lock of the week, thank God, because the odds were so crazy. He was minus 3,000. But I was going to win that fight, obviously. I thought that was going to be fairly obvious that Dan Aziz was going to bounce back and get a W. The draw, and look, I don't think the draw was egregious, although I don't know. I didn't see it, right? But I'm feeling that kind of fight. I didn't see the fight. If anyone saw it, what did you guys think of it? Was that an acceptable scorecard? I got a lot of people telling me, yeah, it was an even-ish fight that could have went either way. I'm interested in what you guys had to say. I'm shocked that Dan Aziz is struggling at that level, right? This should not have been a close fight. And from what I understand is Aziz had to rally late to get the draw. Is that basically how you guys saw it? He was. No, he wasn't. I was gonna say he was competitive with Watson. I mean, he won a couple rounds, but he got dropped twice, I think, in the 11th. He got beat up pretty good in that fight. He got beat pretty good, so I'm not gonna cap. He wasn't that competitive with Aziz. He wasn't that competitive with Watsi, to be completely honest. It is what it is. I missed Dan's fight. Yeah, apparently we missed a stinker of a performance from Dan Aziz. Didn't watch. Was a draw though. I don't know what's wrong with Dan Aziz. What we got here from Boxing Brains. Maybe Angel Fernandez's fault. Wasn't he trained by Tibbs before? Oh well. Yeah. That was an unacceptable performance. That was an unacceptable performance from Riakporhe. Like based off that performance and his age at 34, I don't think he's ever going to get another world title shot. Like that was his shot. And look, if you lose, you lose. But like I said the same thing about Little Charlo when Little Charlo fought with Canelo. And Little Charlo, obviously undisputed champion, but he wanted the Canelo fight. Like that was his Super Bowl. That was his everything. He's been calling out for that fight since he was a 5-0 prospect fight on Golden Boy cards in 2014. Right? That was the fight he wanted. He got it. And then he no-showed. He never even tried to win the fight. And I kind of feel like Riakporhe never really tried to win this fight. Like, I mean, there was no second gear. There was no changing game plan. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to lose these rounds. And the judges, I gave him, he's going to go back and he's going to kick himself in the ass because the judges gave him every single judge gave him every single close round. 115, 112 after 7-5 fight. You know what I'm saying? All he had to do is pick up the pace in 2 other rounds and he wins the fight. That's all he had to do. 2 rounds. He goes back and he looks back at his whack effort. 2 rounds different. He's a world champion this morning or tomorrow, however you want to look at that. Like, Riakporhe, man, like, when the opportunity for a world title's in front of you, you got to take it, man. Like, he's going to go kick himself, and he's never going to get that chance again. There's a very good chance he never gets that chance again. I also want to talk about my boy, Ben Whittaker. Vintage performance, vintage Ben Whittaker. That nickname fits him, the surgeon, operating like a surgeon. Absolutely operating like a really, really good performance. Like, I thought that was an A-plus performance from Ben Whittaker. Now, the opponent obviously wasn't great. Iwatsky Ezra, not a great fighter, 28 years old, 12-1, hadn't beaten anyone at all, really nothing on his resume. He hadn't fought on big cards in this hemisphere in a long time. But nevertheless, and he looked outmatched, and he looked outgunned, but he was an undefeated prospect. And Whittaker absolutely schooled him, told on him, was operating like a surgeon. And I want to say something. How do you rate Shane McGuigan as a trainer? You got to rate him pretty high, right? I mean, like, you may not like the way his fighters fight. You may not like him, but you got to put some respect on his name, all right, Merker? I mean, he's gotten guys to this level consistently. You got to rate him pretty high. You got to rate him as a world-class, world premier trainer. Where you want to rank him with the other great names in the sport, or Ben Davidson, or whoever else. I mean, that's all up for interpretation. But he's in the conversation. He's in that group of great trainers. Yes. We're going to make this sort of a short stream. I know we got a lot of boxing going on, but I want to talk about Ben Whittaker, and I put this in my tweet. Ben Whittaker versus Anthony Yard. Ben Whittaker versus Anthony Yard. If they fought next, because I think there's something to Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker, Anthony Yard. And, I'm a little bit 50-50, but I'm leaning towards Whittaker. Who would you all favor if Whittaker fought Yard next? How does that go? And I know people are going to say, Whittaker's got to commit to his shots. He's got to work on his power. He's got to sit down. He can't just flick these shots, these little flicking shots out of world level. It's not going to work. Oh, hang on. Hang on with that. Yeah, I would like to see him commit to his shots a little more. I'd like to see him, sit down on his punches a bit more. But there's something to him. He's got a great gas tank. He keeps throwing. He's keep firing. He's accurate. He lands on the button. And yes, if he fought Beterbiev, Beterbiev's going to walk through that. But when we're talking about the division as a whole, the 175-pound division, it's not great. It really, at this particular time, is not a great division. But when you look at it, at the division, the top 10 fighters, okay, you got the top 2, Bivol and Beterbiev. After that, Watsy, Billam-Smith, Hot Rod, Kozhik, Yard. I mean, Malik Zenard. These are guys in the top 10 of that division. So those are your world-class fighters. Whittaker can hang with those guys. Whittaker's skills, his footwork, again, the top 2 guys, he's not going to beat those guys. Granted, I will give you that. The rest of the division is not loaded. It's not a great division, right, at this particular time. 175 is not a loaded division. And with his skills and his precision shots and his footwork and his speed and his athleticism, he's going to give a lot of guys trouble. If you can't catch up with him and knock him out, you're going to lose to him. Like, he just knows how to win rounds, and you can't hit him, and he scores. And yes, it's not really doing a whole lot of damage. And I said, I want to see him get a knockout. I want to see him just turn it up. And I want to see Whittaker get a knockout. He's fighting a guy who's completely outclassed, outmatched. Let Whittaker Whitaker get a stoppage. Just stop him. And he never even came close, right? Like it looked like one point in about the 7th round or the 6th round, like he said, "Okay, I'm going to come forward. And that was it. And that was short-lived. He went back to just winning and dominating, which is fine. Yeah, boxing versus all the experts were picking Riakporhe. Get it back on Benavidez later. He's going to stop the nail. Yeah, I think Benavidez by stoppage. I agree with Boxing Brains. I think Benavidez by stoppage is a great bet. I think that's a terrific bet. I like Vosdick. If you really want to get cute, I would make 2 bets on Benavidez if you want to get cute. Benavidez in round 9, and then Benavidez in rounds 10 through 12, right? Like, I think that knockout is going to come somewhere between 9 and 12. So if you bet the 9th round, TKO 9th round, you're going to get great odds on that. And if you bet the back 3 rounds, 10, 11, 12, you're going to get great odds on that, right? So you're going to lose one of them, obviously. But I think Benavidez by late stoppage is a terrific bet. I really do. So bet, if you want to get cute, bet that. Bet Benavidez in the back 3 and bet Benavidez by knockout in the 9th. I bet you hit. Like that my guess would be if you could cover those 4 rounds, 9, 10, 11, 12, you're going to get it correct. I think, like, I don't hate Vosdick. I think Vosdick was a really good fighter. He's old. You can see in his last couple of tune-up fights, he's a lot more stationary. So if you're older and slower and more stationary in front of Benavidez, he's going to dog walk you eventually. Now, Vosdick may do well in spots for a while, but it's only for a little while. I think Benavidez gets the stoppage. I think I think Vosdick was in this fight. If this is Vosdick of 5 years ago, maybe a completely different story. Vosdick was really, really good. But it's not. Like, he's 37 now. It's not the same Vosdick. It's not the Vosdick that even got stopped by Better Beef. He's a lot more stationary and a lot slower. So it's just a bad fight for him stylistically. I want Parra to have a chance. I like Parra. I don't know. I went into it, watching all the tape. I reviewed a ton of tape. You can check my video on it. I reviewed a ton of tape, and I wanted Parra to have a chance. Like, I wanted to give Parra a chance because I've been so impressed with his last 2 fights, Brock Jarvis and Montana Love. He's looked amazing. Like, he's looked really good. He's fighting someone different. Like, he's fighting a absolute wrecking ball. Just a wrecking ball. So, look, Liam Parra is actually the much better outside fighter. From range, he's pretty good. And that's not something that Matias can handle. It's boxing from the outside. So if they could get him into if he could keep the fight on the outside for 12 rounds, he can have his way with Matias. Here's the thing, though. I don't think he's good enough to keep Matias off him, although he's the better boxer on the outside. I don't think he's good enough to keep Matias off of him for 12 rounds. That's one. And 2, Parra wants to fight. Like, Parra doesn't want to box him for 12 rounds. Parra wants to get in the pocket and trade with them. Parra's got that in him. So with that being said, I don't see, and I get what you're saying, Mirka. I do. Like, Parra's a good fighter. He's under the radar. He's a very good fighter. Stylistically, I think this fight's just the wrong fight for him. I think Matchroom did a good job matching him in this fight. With Matias, I think they're doing Matias a favor here. I don't mean to disparage Parra. I just think stylistically he fights into the hands of Matias, and Matias is a wrecking ball. And when you fight into the hands of a wrecking ball, it's not going to end well for you. But I like Parra too, and I wish Parra had gotten a different fight. You would have given Parra another body at 140. I think he does well with it, like he did well with Montana Love and Brock, and he's a good fighter. And he may get back to a world championship level at some point in this weight class. But I don't like this fight for him. I don't like the Matias fight for him. I just think Matias is stylistically all wrong. I don't see Parra being disciplined enough and not getting into a firefight with Matias. Like, I think this is going to be a great fight. I think Parra is going to have moments. I think he's going to land plenty of big shots. But ultimately, I don't see him disengaging with Matias, which is the wrong way to fight. So I'm going to take, Matias by late stoppage in that fight as well. Vladimir, I think, like I said, Vladimir Lopez says Paro is going to be light work. Paro's a good fighter. I don't like to call good fighters light work. Like, I was about to call Chris Billam-Smith. I was about to say CBS was going to be light work for Riakporhe, and I would have looked ridiculous for saying that. I didn't say it. I was about to tweet it, too. I was replying to someone else's tweet, and they asked who was going to win. I was going to say Riakporhe, easy. No, I'm not going to put easy work. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. CBS is a world-class fighter. He's a world champion, so I'm not going to say easy work. So I don't want to say Paro, who is a world-class fighter, who's a world-class junior welterweight. I don't want to say he's going to be light work, but I agree. I think this is going to be a scrap. I think it's going to be a firefight, but I think Matias wins the fight. But between Aziz and Riakporhe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about no more. Although I did tell everyone that fight was going to go distance. I really, really like the over in the Billam-Smith. Because I just thought, Riakporhe was going to fight the way he did, and I didn't think Billam-Smith was going to have as much success as he did. So it's not that I underestimated Billam-Smith. I don't think I overestimated Riakporhe, even though I don't like the effort that he gave. You can see his skills, you can see his talent, you can see what he is. And he's a bit limited, but he's got athleticism and he's got skills from the outside. And usually at cruiserweight, you can hit it all, which he can hit. It's enough. The cruiserweight's not typically the best division in the world. It's somewhere in between light heavyweight and heavyweight. And look, maybe Riakporhe goes to heavyweight. It seems like a logical choice. They're saying he really struggled to make 200. He's tall, he's long. He can fill out the frame a little bit. I certainly think he can fight as a heavyweight. I don't think that's inappropriate to suggest at all. I think Riakporhe would be a decent heavyweight. Is he going to be a world beater? Is he going to be a heavyweight champion? Who knows? Maybe get him on the juice him up a little bit. Get him 230-ish. That speed and the strength could be okay. He's got skills. If you got skills, you got some speed, you got a jab, it can carry you a long way. A long, long way in the heavyweight division. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon in the next couple of minutes. So you guys have any thoughts, questions, comments, put them in the chat now. I'll get to them. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Again, guys, join the Patreon. The link is in the description. It's also in the chat. Let's take a look at, let's get into, we're gonna do another live. We're gonna do another live tonight after, I'm gonna do one live for those two cards. I'm gonna cover the Paro card, which I was really excited for this. I don't want to say disappointed. We got some good fights, but I was really, really excited for all three cards. I was really excited. I don't know why. I was super amped for the Billam-Smith fight. I don't know why, but I was super stoked for it, like geeking out over it. And then I'm super excited for these two cards. Like, obviously, Liam Paro and Super Matias is going to be an explosion. That's a great fight. Tank Davis and Frank Martin. Tank Davis and Frankie Martin is obviously a great fight, world-class fight. It's the big one. So I'm stoked for tonight's fights. I'm hoping y'all in the UK stay up and join me live. Although I get, like, I can't do the Japanese fights, right? Like, my time zone in Texas and Japan is roughly equivalent to the difference between what you guys have with the US. So I get if you guys can't stay up. But I would appreciate it if you guys want to join me. I'm going to be live after those two fights. I'm not sure which one ends first. I would imagine Paro and Paro and Matias are going to end first. But I would be my East Coast as opposed to West Coast. So I was just imagining it's going to end earlier. Merker asks, what are my thoughts on Tank versus Martin? Okay. Check out my video on this. I think this is a 50-ish 50 kind of fight. Like, so honestly, I think it's 55-45. Tank knocks him out. So if you're looking to gamble, I would not touch Tank Davis on the money line. If you really want to take a gamble, if you really want to take a risk, I think Frank Martin at plus 450 or whatever you're going to get him at, it was plus 450 on DraftKings. I think that's a good bet. Yes, sir. I think that's a very good bet. I like Frank Martin on the money line with those odds. here's what I would do to sweeten it. I think there are two ways this fight ends. Tank Davis by knockout, and I'm 55% sure that's going to hit. So if you want to take Tank Davis by knockout, that's minus 180, I think. It's not bad, right? Minus 180. Or if you like Frank Martin by decision. Frank Martin's not stopping him. Frank Martin is not stopping Tank Davis. So Frank Martin by decision was like plus 700. I really like that. So if you're asking me to bet this, I think the best bet is Frank Martin by decision. Frank Martin by decision plays plus 700. I can't remember what I'm saying. I'm so tired. Frank Martin by decision plus 700. I think that's a great bet. Or if you want to really stick with Tank, go Tank Davis by stop. It's minus 180, which is pretty good odds too. Yeah, I'm getting people to swing my way now. I agree that the fight is iffy and the odds aren't worth the risk, especially after both of them looking depleted. Yeah, it was interesting because Tank puts rehydration clauses on people at 135, right? He puts rehydration clauses on them, which suggests he can make the weight no problem. But what Vladimir is saying is absolutely correct. They both look drained. I was saying, like, can Tank still make 130? Like, if he's putting if you're putting rehydration clauses on all these dudes at 135, saying that suggests to me he's got no problem making 135. Can he still make 130? I think this answers the question. No, he can't make 135. We can't make 130, and he's at 135 or higher at this point. And Frank Martin looked drained as well. That's absolutely true. All right, y'all, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to get going. I will be back later today for the second live stream. I will do a live stream following the conclusion of Davis, Martin, and Paro Matias. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Join the Patreon. The link is in the description. It is also in the banner. I'm going to stick right here. Join the Patreon. Link is in the video. And it is also in that banner below. Please like, subscribe. Please hit the like button. Like and subscribe. I will be back tonight. It is June 15th, 2024. From Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.